Hey everyone, how is it going? It is another episode of the Done Deal Show with me here, Tanasha Chaponda, and our co-host Tonje. How's it going?
I'm good. It's been a week, man. Like I missed you. Like so much to talk about. Right, right,
Y-
right. So much to talk about. So how was your week, man?
Overall, my week was pretty good. I think as we wrap up Q1 here, some brands are very excited, for the next quarter. Some are shaky because of TikTok, but overall in the agency world, it's been a lot of fun. And yourself, how's it going in the tech world?
On the tech world, like it's shaky, right? We see AI eating the world. There's a lot of tech layoffs, and I think it's also impacting a lot of like creator startups. But it's a good time to be competitive. Like when there's a crisis, there's always opportunities. And so if, like talent managers or people in the influencer marketing industry have to reduce their budgets, they would go for the best services. So,
Yeah.
and it's a message for, like entrepreneurs out there is it's when you have to step up your game.
Exactly. And kind of going off that, which helps with today's episode 3 today, we're talking about taking the leap, right? How to start your career
Exactly.
in talent management as an entry level talent manager. Or maybe you're someone who's been on the brand side, right? Where you might be doing influencer marketing. You've had a few influencers reach out to you about wanting to have you manage them. And you're like, hey, should I do this? Should I not? Or just in general. So this is going to be a very exciting episode we'll get into here. But before we do that, a lot of
Hold on, hold
exciting
on,
stuff.
hold on.
Okay. Oh, me hold on or you hold on?
No, 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 no. Like people have to hold on because we have like exciting news.
Oh,
And so
yes.
basically, please, Tinashe, share with our audience like the lineup that we prepare for them. And
Mhm.
after the lineup, there's a surprise for people who want to meet us in person.
Yeah, exactly. So we have some amazing upcoming guests for the Done Deal show, and we'll even put it in the description for you. Avi Gandhi, he is a consultant, a strategist. He has been in the creator space for quite some time now. I know he was former Patreon, Wheelhouse, etc. He'll be coming on next week. We have Mary Grace Scully is another one, also in the digital marketing as well. She'll be coming on and really talking about UGC content and influencer marketing. We have Duke McKenzie is another one. He is the CEO of Project Next, a talent management, and they manage one of the biggest, actually the biggest TikToker in the world. They are the USA manager for Kabi Lame itself. That's another episode.
Wow, wow,
Jesus.
wow, wow,
On the
wow. Fire,
line, we also
fire.
have on top of that Travis Montague. He is the CEO and co-founder of Group Black and also a co-founder and founder of Crater as well. They'll be coming on. Group Black, this organization that was able to, get 500 million of brand commitment for diversity marketing and initiatives. So that's really exciting. We also have drum roll, please. Drum it, drum it, drum it. We have also on the lineup Brooke Berry as well. She is the head of talent development at Snap. So she'll be coming on and really, educating talent managers on what you should know about Snap to educate your creators.
Let's pause here because I feel like
Yeah, because I'm not done yet. There's more, but let's pause right here.
no, I know, I know, I know. I was like, let's pause here because I feel like like we spend a lot of time on LinkedIn and there's a lot of content and people doing like ChatGPT posts. We know you use ChatGPT to write those posts, but I feel like there's a lack of real content, people coming and sharing insights. And so I just hope that people appreciate that we are trying to change the narrative and we are so grateful for those amazing guests to
Yeah,
like be able to make some time to come here and share the knowledge with you guys.
exactly. Exactly. So this is definitely going to be a very exciting next month or so. So all April, some heavy hitters going into May. We're even scheduled all the way into May. So every week, the Done Deal Show, you'll be getting it live here on LinkedIn. And if you're watching this for the re-recording, you found our podcast as well, too. So that's some exciting news there. We have more guests. I'll list them as we go. But Tonje,
I
what's
thought, wait, wait,
happening?
wait, 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 wait. There's something else. Like, okay, because people asking themselves, like, okay, how do I become a guest? Like we hear this list and we feel like, oh, like I should be there and like share my knowledge. So what's the best way to reach out to us?
Yeah, exactly. So the easiest way to reach out, honestly, is to go and DM me on LinkedIn.
So DM Tinashe or
Yep,
myself on LinkedIn. This is like where we operate, and you'll be on the list, right? And the
exactly,
list
exactly.
is getting pretty long.
It's getting
Um,
long. Yeah, we're all the way to May right now, and we have, I think, 2 days left in May, and then we're going to start working on June.
so the other exciting news is the fact that we're hosting 4 dinners in person in LA for rising talent managers. It will happen at Soho House, this very exclusive private club in West Hollywood. And the idea of these dinners are, it's pretty simple. It's to connect with talent managers, to have talent managers and some people in the influencer marketing industry to come together to share notes,
Mhm.
to potentially like start to do some business together. It's sponsored by OnScale. OnScale is my startup company where we build basically the sales force for talent managers. And so we will put a link in description and feel free to sign up, and food is on us. So just like come hang out, meet your peers, and don't feel like isolated. I know we're going to talk about it later, but for the most talent managers, it's a lonely journey. You'll be
Yeah.
surrounded by your roster, but at the end of the day, it's lonely. And so at OnScale and Done Deal, we're trying to build a community of talent managers. So just come join.
Exactly. Yeah. So I will be there too. We'll be able to meet. It'll be a lot of fun. So now let's get into the meat of it, right? The actual episode. Let's talk about it, right? We feel there's a lot of exciting stuff, especially this only being episode 3. But something we wanted to do was kind of peel it back and talk about that one person listening to this who's like, you know what? I've been considering being a talent manager, or maybe this is a jump that I want to make, or completely change verticals. You might not even be in the influencer space at all, but it intrigues you. This episode, we're going to really break down kind of, the core basics of what is a talent management business and the economics of it, and really some things to prepare for if you're interested in jumping in full. So to get started, Tonje, let's just talk about the model of talent management.
Let me intro this topic with some shade, right? I think, no, like we all know like someone who pretends to be a talent manager because he's a cousin of a friend of an actual creator, right? And those people are doing decks, spreadsheets, and they send those spreadsheets to brands. And that's why a lot of talent managers have a bad rep, right? Because we don't know, like, there's a lack of transparency and it feels shady, right? And I think we can share some tips with, like emerging talent managers on how to behave or how to present yourself in a professional manner, right? And I think a lot of talent managers need to hear this. And so let's start with, like, how do you interact with the talent you want to sign? It's just like, do you just look at the follower accounts and you just sign them? Is there like an interview process that you put in place? Because the way you sign your influencer will also reflect on the relationship you will have with this influencer. If you make it too easy, you will realize that, there's, like it's like a restaurant. You go in, you go out, so it's easy. So tell us.
Yeah, I would say first that the model of talent management, right? So you are a talent manager. The majority of management is commission based. So you don't get paid until the influencer gets paid. So one, you have to really think about, is this someone that I like? Right. I think that's the first thing to
What do
say,
you mean?
especially.
What do you mean? Do you like the content? Do you like the
No,
person?
meaning, do you like the person as a whole? So meaning, like, when you have that initial interaction with these people, do you even quote unquote vibe with them? Is that like a
Oh,
natural
so now you're
personality fit?
holistic. You're talking about like energies.
Well, it's important because especially when they get started, right? Like even when I got started, I was working my butt off for free And some of the deals I did, I either paid for myself or I was just like, hey, let me just get you deals. Oh, it's whatever amount. No worries. I don't need to get paid anything to really build that trust in that beginning.
I'm so confused. Is it this like being a talent manager is a business, right? So
Yeah.
what is this business where you you go and you make no money? It's not a business, right?
So the reason I bring that up is because through the world of talent management, it's relationships, right? So there are things we've done for super discounted or even for free or use my resources and connections to strengthen a relationship with the intent of profit long term, right? So the reason I'm saying that's a core foundation when you're going to sign, right, is just because like, especially when they get started, like we talk about expectations, right? It's really important that you don't overpromise and say that you can do it all. I think that's one thing that I saw a lot of managers do wrong in the beginning, where it's, oh, I can get you deals, but can you do photo shoots for me? Yeah, sure. Events? Yeah, sure. So I think it's one when you talk about expectation is what is that one thing you're really good at?
Is it a business of relationships or a business of reputation? And it's close, but it's not the same, right? Because the issue is like when you enter this entertainment industry for the first time, you feel like, oh, it's all about relationships. So you will go like all the way. You will pay for food, you will pay for Ubers, you will feel like, oh, I want a show that can provide. But by doing this creator or influencer, we never worked before. We had no comparable. We'll be like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. This is, like,
Mhm.
I'm the star, I'm this big shot. And so you're supposed to pay for my Uber, you're supposed to pay for my food and stuff. And not necessarily think about the business model that's actually you only make money when they make money, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that it's more business of reputation. And it's better to be known by traders because you know how to run your business. You know how to say actually no to a creator. You know how to explain that no, I will not pay for your Uber because it will come from my pocket. This is not sustainable. And so as you build like your reputation of being like a professional, you know your numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, but I think when I say things I did or it was more of my time, right? I think that's a really key thing. And also remember, we're dealing with managers or people who've never done this space before. So majority of you don't have brand connections. Majority of you don't know what you're doing. So when we got into it, we were very much transparent as in, hey, in 2020, we're in use, agency. This is our past. This is what we're really good at. This is what we're trying to do, so people were signing on knowing they're growing, I'm growing. I love the fact that it's like more high touch, right? Emerging agency. So we've always been relationship driven first because in terms of profitability, we've gotten smarter with how to build these relationships, right? Where now our like donation of of relationship gain is our time. Get on a quick 30-minute call. I can bring in a Joe from brand partnerships to strategize with you. That brings value to that influencer. I don't necessarily even have to take them to dinner. We actually stopped doing that kind of stuff for influencers because with the core value of what they need is no matter how much deals and money you'll get them, it will never be enough, and there'll always be another manager across the street offering more, promising more. So we don't really focus on monetary more than we do like actual, hey, I see you as a person. And if you want to call me and rant about your day, I'll be there for you. Now, it kind of goes down to what's that relationship that you want. But when you're starting off in entry level, you have to, you're starting from the bottom again. You have to, make people like you and give you opportunity for the next thing. So that's what I mean. And I think where people fail at, they invest too much money and instead it's just about investing your time.
Yeah, as long as you know why you do what you do and that it's a transition phase. This is
Yeah.
not like the nature of your relationship with your creator is really important because I feel like as a talent manager just start their business, there's this like tension between like this transactional relationship with the creator.
Yeah.
So like I'm a service provider, you my client, and almost this idea of, oh, I have to help a creator. Like creators are so naive and so fragile that they're like babies. Like like I have to take care of them. And by acting like this, some people in the industry treat creators like they are like children.
Oh yes, yeah. Well,
And so
well,
then the whole relationship of valuing your time as a professional, then like there's a distortion. And so why I'm mentioning this, and it's really important, is as you start in this industry, you have to know your time is valuable. You have to set boundaries with your talent roster. You have to be clear about like what are the services you're offering. Otherwise, this business will not be profitable for you. I'm telling you.
yeah. Well, I think kind of going even deeper because most people watching this haven't experienced it, so they might not necessarily see the connection, right? So when we talk about services, right? What are those services that a manager can provide? The most basic sense is getting brand deals for someone. That's like the most basic, right? Very self-explanatory. Then second level is that more managerial career development. You're going to lean on me more than just deals. I'm going to come to you because maybe I want to get into YouTube. What's your advice? Or maybe I want to get into merch, right? Like this is a creator merch. What's your advice there? So that's like the next level. Then I would say the third level of that is more high touch talent development. The difference from this last one is more advisory. The third one is, hey, I'm going to find the videographer you for your YouTube. I'm going to help you get into music. I'm going to call managers and try to help you with collaborations. I would say if you're at entry level, I would highly focus on just brand deals.
Totally agree. So let's get into it. So you see this creator, or maybe you have like more than one creator now. You a bit more advanced. You graduate from the state where like you actually have a friend that is a creator or your cousin. How do you really run interviews? Like how do you know that you will vibe with this person? Or actually, this creator, she's a professional.
Yeah. So I have a background in HR, like in terms of like some internships here. I'm not saying big background like I was in a corporation. I jumped straight from college to entrepreneurship, but I've always loved that interview HR process of things. So for me, it starts the moment I reach out, how they're responding, how long it takes for them to respond. So we really broke our interview structure into two, and it's always been like this, even from the beginning. We do one intro that's about 30 minutes, very technical, right? Who like focus on them, their goals, what they're trying to do. And what that does is it really allows you to establish and listen to what they want to see if that's a good fit. Interview number two is more of a vibe check where either it'll be, if you're a solo talent manager, you might meet them again, right? For a quick 10 minutes. And that's where you would, let's say, give them the offer or if you have any additional questions. But what's important through the whole process is I'm paying attention to how quick you respond. Do you show up for the first one? Are you late? Right? There's been instances where now we're so strict that like if someone reschedules after the first one and the way they reschedule, is it 30 minutes before you reschedule or it's been 10 minutes in the meeting and then you reschedule? Those little things now, we would literally go when I'm being forward with this person because we're that strict now. Yeah.
So hear me out. Like I love what you just said because it reminds me relationships, like actual, like real life relationship with like someone that you like. The things that you don't like with the person at the first date is the reason why few months or years later you will break up. So it's interesting to pay attention to details and to ask yourself, am I able to deal with this behavior? And this is exactly what you described because as a talent manager, a creator that you interview reschedule 5 minutes before the interview, you can be sure that as a client, this person will cancel a campaign one day before actually like shooting the video,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and really it's everything, right? So I'm looking at the way they say it. Are they sorry? Are they, oh, I forgot? Because some talent are just so naive that they say things like, oh, I forgot. Oh, sorry, I'm playing basketball. Can we so even like the professional ones know that even if they were to, let's say, forget, professionally, there's a certain way, right? It's like those smart kids in school. So yeah, I would definitely would say that. And then I would also then look at
On this point, sorry to cut you off, but on this point, it depends of like how old are they and their experiences, right? Like someone like who's like not in high school would not necessarily say I was playing basketball, right? So it's also that I guess you have to adapt based on like the type of creators you work with, even if as a professional it's challenging. You have to manage your nerves.
yeah, and to go off that, right? So when we talked about, just getting them to the meeting, let's talk about the actual meeting and what we focus on. So for us, what we do is we say we bring them in. And first, I just start off by saying I like to frame this meeting is going to be more just to get to know you, get to know us, very technical. We have 2 meetings. If this goes well, really important, we'll let you know if you made it to the next round. So what's really key is the exclusivity and the need to not need to sign them right away. Then our
Mhm.
processes will intentionally wait 2 to 3 days before letting them know about the next phase, right? And everything to see, are they serious? Are they actually going to come back? But while I'm in the interview, I'm looking at really, are they passionate about the work that they do? And it can be typical goals from, describe your creator process. What are your 1 year goals for this year? What's your overall career goals? Are there any areas that you're looking to, expand in? And then what I ask is very important is, what are you looking for from management? Right. And then it's
Mm.
either, oh, it's my first time. Then it allows you to kind of craft and build that relationship better. If they already have management or had it in the past, I then go, if they say that they're still with them, it can be a red flag. If the next question I say is, hey, have you talked to your management about this? If they say no, then to me, it's like that you would do the same to me. If they say, yes, I've talked to them and they know I'm planning on leaving. Yeah, yeah.
So on this thing, first it's quite funny when it's their first interaction with the talent manager, because you know that they were watching like movies, and like they think that you talent manager, that the same talent manager that manage like I don't know, Beyonce or Elvis. They have all those movies in their mind, and so they expect you to like be on the road with them all the time. But there's different type of talent managers, right? Especially when you like entry level talent manager, like Tinashe said, you have to focus on revenue, and so it's brand deals. So you don't have to be on the road and brainstorm for hours with your creators. My other point is, I don't see as a red flag if a creator comes to you and trying to see if it's a good match, and not necessarily talk about it to their current manager, because maybe they're not in a good place. It's a competitive world, and maybe they heard about you and very excited about you, so I just want to check.
Well, for me, it's more of, okay, you're talking to us, that's fine. But have you disclosed any issues with your management? That's the main
Oh, that's
thing.
different.
So
Okay,
it's a,
okay.
hey, oh no, they don't even know I have issues. Like, for example, oh, I'm looking around and they're just not really giving much deals. And I don't really feel like they're supporting me. Did you bring that up to them? No. Well, you gotta have some type of professional development. Now it's different if, hey, I've already talked to them, we've chatted, it just doesn't work. We've had those conversations where people are like, I've tried, I'm doing it. So, and that's the type of creator I want, right? Is communication goes both ways. So what I mean is, I'm not saying there's an issue with going to talk to other management while you're signed, but it's, are you communicating and trying to make it work with the first person? Because if you don't try it all, then you do this, you sign to us. We're straight to the point. We like people to be transparent. So if a month down the road or 3 months later, you sign to us and you just leave one day, I go, what's wrong? And you go, oh, it was because of X, Y, and Z, and it could have been fixed with a simple, conversation and then tweak. I don't want to deal with that. And mainly why we're so strict is because there's millions of creators. We have the choice to pick who we want.
And the time you invest, so because I know like there's some like talent managers or aspiring talent managers that are listening and are like, why should I like spend that much time doing interviews and let a few days pass before I give them my answer? Is that the time that you spend now is time that you will save later. Trust me. Because if you don't filter the right creators, and I'm not talking about the quality of their content, I'm talking about your ability to communicate with them, they will drag you down, and not necessarily intentionally, because they're not necessarily bad people. It's because they don't have, you know, a framework on how to behave in a professional relationship. One thing that I feel like we are discussing right now is the fact that not all, but a lot of creators are very young, and it might be their first professional experience. So if you choose to work with like young creators, you have to be ready to, I don't like the term educate them because, like sounds very bad, but to guide them in this new relationship, right? But it's time consuming. Again, I repeat, you have to value your time.
Yeah, and I would definitely, yeah, I would say too off of that, if you're listening, that is the one thing, right? It's interesting when you're entry level and you're going into this space and you're like, you don't know. So you need to almost like learn it, the space, but we're, kind of having a conversation and how I naturally learned this, but now I'm hearing you talk is there's a difference what you're saying in terms of your personal business, framework and how you want to do business relationships. Then there's the actual side of influencer world and you coming in to learn new things. So I think what you're talking about is really important because when I got into the space, I was kind of hopping in with, past experience as an influencer, but I've never been in the business space. So I was saying yes to a lot of things, right? Like this merch, I invested into this merch, right? I've done this, I've done that, I've done it all to figure out where I am now. But the one thing that we got stronger every single year with was what are the values and the ethics of the people we want to be around, and what is our professional zero tolerance, like this is how we do things. And ever since we've really solidified that, and we use that same, essentially your mission, your vision, right, and your core values, regardless of any business industry, we keep this same model. And that's what's helped us really strengthen. So before you start signing, right, really break down like what's your goals and values as a business and a manager, then go off and see who you want to connect with. Because it's true, some people just want money. And there's some talent that work really well with managers who are just about running the money up, right? They don't chat as much. They're more like, hey, here's a deal. Thank you. Get it done. And they very transactional, and that's completely okay. Right. Some managers are more emotional and like to be more invested into it. Right. They want to get to know the person, know their family, when they're sick, when their birthday, send them flowers. Right. That's another type. And those are values that you might
And that's
value.
okay. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I think a lot of it is just figuring out who you value. And the issue is when you, one, don't know your values, you then two are new and trying to just get whatever you can. So you're saying yes to everything, you're over promising. So then you create this false image of what you aren't. You sign a couple months later, there's so many issues. Oh, the talent's not giving enough time or this. Well, it's because you didn't even market yourself properly to attract the right creators.
Exactly. And so let me add this to this point is, if you ask to emerging talent managers why we do what we do, they will say like, I want to help creators. I want to almost like save them, right? I want to take care of them, and I want to nurture them. I want them to feel very comfortable. But it's great, and I support this. But you should also think about like, how you're gonna pay your rent, how you're gonna make money, how you're gonna empower your team. So it's with income. And there's a great industry that is all about like caring and make you feel comfortable. And like, it's like the hospitality industry. When you go to a 5-star or 4-star hotel, you will feel good. The whole team will take care of you. You will feel like a star. But at the end of the day, there's a bill, and they charge you for this. So they care as much, but it's still a business. And the client should pay the price. And the price is a commission, the price is working hard. to have access to someone like you. You cannot become like the chief of staff of a creator without, like
The compensation of our chief
solid
of staff. Yeah.
compensation.
And then kind of, and I know we've spent a lot of time on this whole like psychology of of the talent, and a lot of you might be listening going, okay, I get it, respect my time, respect my boundaries, what's the next step? But I just want to say this before we switch topics, is it's very important for you to understand what we just spend the last to 10 15 minutes on, in order for you to get that strong foundation to scale properly before you have future problems. Now, one thing we talked about kind of like the first interview, right? Then you wait a couple of days and do the second interview. And that's really just to kind of filter that out. But now let's really talk about, how to get people to the interview, right? So where do you find creators to want to sign? And the thing I always tell people, start with your own personal channels and what's organically coming on your For You page, on your discovery page. And then naturally just see, I'm going to go scroll. This person looks interesting. First thing you want to look at is their bio. Do they have a Gmail? Do they have a business one? Also keep in mind, if it says like management at whatever Gmail, it might still just be them. They're just using a management email. But the main thing I say is stay away from anyone who already has an existing business email. They're going to clearly already be signed. 2, I would also say, I typically we would stay away from DMs. So get someone on their email and email them, because we want someone who's, once again, serious about their work. Creators that are serious are going to check their DMs. I mean, their emails, right? They're going to make sure managing it on that aspect. So I would really focus there. Try to stay away from DMs if I was you in the beginning. And when you do that actual outreach, what you need to do as a manager is develop a quick 4 to 5 page deck. Basically, I would say research a couple of talent management companies that you like, and you kind of see how they portray themselves and create like a About Us page. Take another page of how we help, influencers activate. And then in terms of like the type of brands and everything you have, the reality is, everybody, anyone can access any brand, right? There's Apollo lead. There's so many lead generation softwares out there where it's not about can you access a brand. It's do you have the right talent to go to the brands? And that's really, really important. And it took us, about a year and a half into it to realize this. And when you start getting really good talent, you start to realize whenever someone's like, what brands have you worked with? Or who can you get access to? We say anyone. It's a matter of, do you have a good enough project to make someone want to respond back? So I'm not saying sit there. So when you talk about, when creators want to ask you what brands have you worked with or who do you have access to, use that script. We can access anybody, right? There's softwares out there that you can get anyone, but we want a good talent to pitch to that brand.
So let me break it down for the audience. First, do you go for any creator? I hear you when you say like just go to your For You page or stuff, but I feel like you and I and people in the industry knows that there's some niche that are more profitable, right?
Yeah.
And
definitely.
so like you again, as talent manager, you have to ask yourself, is it a business or like a pet project? If it's a business, if you left your previous company to launch this venture, you want to make sure that in less than 3 months you will start to have like solid income, right? And so we all know that like beauty creators are working well.
Oh, so some different verticals. Yeah. Okay. This is what I would say. When it comes to things, the best way is stay away from people who use 80, 90% plus of only sounds, right? So people who lip sing everything. Now, keep in mind, if they're just a lip singer,
Why? We need
there's
the
no
why.
value. You bring no value. You have no original content. You're just literally regurgitate. Like, that is why TikTok was able to original blow up, right? It makes it easy for anyone to hop on a trend, etc. Now, the only exception we give for people using sounds is if they have an artistic element to it. So a lot of beauty creators, they'll create, they use a song, but they'll build and create something out of it. But all you're doing is sitting there going, yeah.
Do you
like
mean,
that
do you
whole
mean
thing
that,
is not valuable.
do you mean that you actually have to create something?
Original. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
right? So oh my gosh, every time a manager sends us a list of, hey, here's some talent for a campaign and their sound, I'm just, Okay, the moment I see 2, 3, I'm not even looking at the rest of the list. It's just not worth my time.
Mm,
I would say that. 2, in terms of skits and, that kind of stuff, stay away from, like, really high, like, controversial people that kind of talk negatively of communities, like, not saying there's not a space for that, and there, certain brands that are into that, but the majority of where you as an entry level coming in and really getting the biggest opportunity capital-wise, I would definitely say stay away from any controversial, like, community hate speech type of people. Also, what I would say is stay away from anyone that's basically remaking, like, copyrighted stuff. So you might get people who, like, remake movies, for example, right? That you're niching themselves down to only movies and movie premieres, and yes, there's capital and payment there, but it's not going to be a lot different if that person just made original skits completely. Now they just open them up by 4 or 5 verticals. So I would say focusing on the beauty niche is really great. Another niche that works really, really well is when it comes to within women, I would say in general. So when it comes to skits and stuff like that, I usually focus on someone who is building relatable content around a well-defined community. So you're in high school, you make specific high school skits. Some people just make
mm,
random skits and all over the place, just whatever comes, whatever is trending, I'll make a skit from it. Really find niche focused people, or maybe you're a millennial, you make things around a growing millennial and being a wife or upcoming wife or boyfriend girlfriend, right? Is really niche. So I would say focus on skit people who make that niche. Also I would say on is focus on, like, even like finance and business. There's a lot of payment there because there's not as many of them. I would say that's good. Gaming is also a really good one, but however, it is a click to get in there, okay? Like, we as a company have tried to get into there as gaming, and,
what do you mean by this?
like, you have to really love gaming and love, because we've been on so many calls with gaming companies, and if you're not an actual gamer yourself, you're not gonna last in there. They can smell it, man. It's like the land of the rich, smart, quirky nerds, but they're cool too, because now anyone can game, right? So it's becoming this really, like, interesting community, and, like, you have to be in that and enjoy it for it to work. Don't just go for it for the money. And then I would also say another sector, fitness. I don't know, man. It used to be cool back in the day, but the fitness industry, well, not all of it, but a lot
When
of
you say
it,
cool, you mean like when you say cool, you mean
influencer
about like the
marketing, like, it
money,
was,
right?
yeah, yeah, like, it was very great, but now they've really perfected the art of affiliate marketing for the fitness niche, right? Everybody's selling some supplement. Everybody has a link for you to download their nutrition plan or guidance plan, etc. So that one is a little more difficult, at least from the feedback I've seen and heard, but it's not possible,
Mm.
right? I mean, it's not impossible. I'm
It's
just kind of
possible.
showing,
Yeah.
yeah. And I would also say, like, when you think of who has the money, right? CPG brands, these massive kind of, companies that have that, they're typically going for super family friendly type of people, right? So when we're really
Mm.
signing people, the core is, are you family friendly in some form? I can put you in
Yeah.
Nickelodeon, but I could also put you in
Brand
MTV.
safe.
I can, well, not, yeah, well, yes, yes, I would say brand safe, but sometimes brand safe is overshadowed by not letting people express their culture and who they are, and there's a difference with that. So I want to really make sure that people aren't getting those misconstrued, because we sign any type, but can we ourselves see ourselves putting brands out? If it was alcohol, right? That's a whole different space, right? Of that party scene, college party type of people, that they're a little more different over there, right? In terms of the content that they're willing to accept. So just understanding, your passion in different avenues. There's obviously other things like DIY. There's a whole thing there. We haven't dabbled personally into that, but those kind of niche stuff, there's opportunity. Sports is a big one right now, right?
Yeah, but Tinashe, if you name all the like verticals, like it's not helping. So it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah. No, no. Yeah, yeah. I'm giving them the ones I know it. So I'm listing, if I know, I don't know, right? So, for me, like, entertainment is where our realm is, where we specialize. But if someone's watching and wants to go into sports, I can't, leave them hanging. There's like,
no, no, makes a lot of sense. And also like I'm all about how do you maximize your time, optimize your time. And as a new like talent manager on the game, you have to know like if you don't focus on one vertical or let's say 2 or 3 verticals, you will have to reach out to brands in those different verticals. So you cannot like, like optimize for one type of vertical. And so it gets hard for you if you have like someone doing sports, someone doing gaming, someone doing like, I don't know, like food. It will be hard for you to maximize the relationship you have with one brand. So you need to be able to almost upsell the brand. So you have like, let's say
Exactly.
Sephora, you need to be able to work with Sephora for your entire roster, or like a portion of it, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Let's move on to the next topic, Tinashe. Is let's talk about the legal stuff, and not necessarily in the relationship with the creators, but just as like yourself. Do you have to establish a business? Do you operate as a sole proprietor and just like so you
Yeah.
don't have a company? What is the best way to start?
Yeah, I think the LLC is the way to go, right? And just get things going.
Why?
I'm gonna need to direct you to the accountant and legal for that. That is not in my department to give you the specific reason. Tonje, why do we do LLC? You tell us.
So I will tell you why. When you have to consider to like incorporate a company or to decide whatever you have to do, first focus on the business, focus on the relationship. You don't have to sign contract with your creators like the way you meet them. Why I'm saying this is and it's just my personal opinion as a non-lawyer, non-accountant,
Let's put that disclaimer real quick.
not even like a US citizen. So but like on serious note, I think that you need like your company the day you will send your first invoice. Before that, you will spend money that you don't necessarily have, or you will allocate this money in a place where it will do nothing for you. Like reaching out to brand, they don't care if you have your company right away. They will care about the company when you will sign the contract. Same thing with creators. You can establish a relationship with your creators, but before you have any deal for them, you don't have to open a bank account or anything. So I think it's important to have a legal structure. But my point is more about like the timing of it. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs spending so much time about, okay, spending months, and a lot of money on like, meeting like all the accountants, in their county, or, like doing like crazy stuff with lawyers to establish like a legal structure. And then we realize that they don't even know how to do business development. They
Yeah.
don't know how to talk to creators.
Yeah, my advice for that is like, what I did way back, go on LegalZoom. It's a little more expensive. Go LLC, city, fill in the dots. They'll have this thing shipped to you in 2-3 weeks. Call it good. Go on to the next thing, right? Like, I would definitely say like, the only thing I would say from that is, yeah, and then maybe find a local credit union that allows you to have a business bank without having a big, balance. Because some banks do require like $5,000 minimum for business accounts. To find like a small bank. But that's all I would say is that, right? It's like, don't overthink it. I was talking to someone the other day. I was at South by Southwest. He had heard me speak. He comes up to me. Yeah,
Oh, you
man.
were a speaker?
Yes, I
South by
was.
Southwest.
Yeah.
I love the way you dropped it.
I gotta do it. Yeah. Shout out to Group Black and Crater. Sarah and Travis there. But what's interesting was he comes up to me, right? Yeah. So I'm working on this, for diabetes, patients. I'm working on fine tuning it. I need to do my business plan and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I need to copyright and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, how many people have you talked to? Well, it's still really in beta. I don't want too many people to
Oh,
know. I'm like,
bang.
yeah, So I'm like, listen, no one cares about any of that. What you need to do is figure out how to make a mock as fast as possible, put it in front of as many people as possible, and get them to say, oh, you should have this, or you need to do this, or can I see more info? And then you react and you move instead of building this whole aspect and then trying to make it happen. And that's how we've always done it, right? We've just kind of go, figure it out. All of a sudden, now we do series. Now we have a house. It works. It doesn't work. We keep moving. We keep pivoting. And I think the quicker you can get something in front of someone and get them to say yes or no, the quicker you will actually develop what you need. But to answer your question, LLC, just go to LegalZoom. It's a little more taxed. Some people are like, no, man, you need to just do it yourself. Just go on this. And maybe you're like, hey, I have the time. Go on YouTube. It's not that hard. It's like a $50, $100 to get your own LLC and EIN number. Or maybe you're like, hey, I don't really want to do that. Pay LegalZoom. It's like 200, 300, 350-ish, tax, depending on how quickly you want to get it going. So just see your income, capacity. If you don't have as much, go on YouTube. You can do it and have it within 4 weeks, 5, or pay for it. Then kind of start and just meeting people, talking to people.
And so we're going to this topic about like, how much do I need to start? Because like, when I started in tech, people were saying that, no, it's easy. You can start, like I started with nothing. And then I was digging, we're like, oh yeah, I started with nothing. But, my grandparents gave me like $100,000. I was like, okay, this is not nothing, right? So as you start and you want a shot at it, you want to be able to maybe go to some like industry events like during the year, you want to be able to have a deck, you want to be able to have, let's say, like a software like OnScale. Like how much like do you need for a whole year? Like if you want to be a talent manager for a whole year and you don't, like depend on your income, how much do you need?
Well, truthfully, you could do a zero, right, and be very scrappy with everything. Hope you have a laptop minimum at least, right, or some type of computer. And in this day and age, everyone has one. If you try to jump into talent management, you can do it with your phone, but I would say have some type of computer to have access to. But really, the key things I would say, yeah, make sure at least you have this to like help establish like the legitimacy. At least have a business email that's on G Suite. I think it's about $10, $15 a month. So multiply that by 12, whatever that is, 130, 140 just for that. And then you don't necessarily need a website if you have a good deck. And I would say use Canva for that. You can do that, and that's about anywhere. What's Canva? $10 a month, and then you can just make it and then get rid of, and then pause it. You can do free Canva as well. So really, I mean, ideally, from the bare bone minimum is those two things. Have an Instagram page, but even then, that's not even necessarily needed. Depending, can be a good base. Now, if you're like, hey, I have a roster of 10.
Yeah, it's a bare minimum. It's like if you want to, like almost go unnoticed, because it's a far west out there. Like it's crazy. Anyone can pretend to be a professional. So I hear what you say, and I kind of support this. But
I got level 2 ready. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. You go first.
And I want to say like, hey, you want to go in this business? Invest. Invest. Like go above the mass. Show up the right way. And so having a website is not mandatory, but it's better to have one.
Exactly.
Like having the right software.
That's level 2. Yep, that's level 2.
Yeah, having the right software that will enable you to track, your leads, onboard your creators. So as you're done with the interviews, you bring your creators in the system, they would respect you even more because they see a structure, Same with brands. And obviously I have to shout out to OnScale that supports creators and talent managers in the way they structure their business. But like on a very serious note, like it's like, do you want to go to like a fake taxi? Like when you land at an airport and this person will pretend to be Uber and you don't know where you're gonna land, or you want to go in like the one who look like professional, and the brands, that's the way they interact with talent managers. Like, is this one a real one or not?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll also say, even going off of that, right, is that's like the level 2, right? So there's different from like, hey, I'm a high schooler, I just want to get going. Did have to be a high schooler, by the way, but right, more like no income, or you're like, hey, I have a full-time job. This is my side hustle. I would definitely say invest in a website, or at least minimum invest in a creator talent roster platform. So like, for example, OnScale is one of those, right? Or Creator IQ is way more expensive, but I'm not trying to, plug OnScale too much in this
Plug on
conversation.
scale. Why not?
So, I will, because I
All the
gotta give
other
the
one is
viewers,
the
options. I want to give them options, So there's like OnScale, there's Media Kits is another one, but I would say I definitely do lean more on OnScale personally, just because of the other components and how you're building it to be more of a CRM vibe, where others, no CRM in terms of like, from like being able to know who clicked on your roster and what email clicked on your roster and when they clicked, and how can you use that information to go, hey, I sent this email to Amazon and I saw they viewed it. Okay, now I can email them. They viewed it 10 minutes ago. Boom, let me do a follow up right now. It's been a week, right? And we know we were able to use our scale roster link for our activation that we're doing at Coachella, and we were able to get Amazon from that deal with that link that was shared as well. Or if it's, you look at other platforms, no matter where you look at, I would say don't get a link tree. That's not the vibe for you as a manager. That's a creator thing, right? So stay away from those like link in bios. Focus on a creator focused platform. You can look at these. You can do your own research as well. But look at, depending on investment, can get a basic website and you have to manually upload, and change your data of your creators every single month if you want, or you can go for more of these automated platforms that do it for you on a monthly basis. So yeah, I would definitely say that. And then investment for those can go anywhere from 300 to like 600 a month, just like, depending. The 400 stuff I've noticed is very cheap in terms of like the functionality of what it can do. But you hit that 400, I'd say 400, 450 plus range up per month. They tend to be a lot more robust. Do not,
Mm.
I repeat, do not spend anything that's 1,000 plus, 2K plus as a emerging talent person. Is just not necessary, and you don't need all those features.
So I would say that overall, like between like Uber, coffee meetings with brands, software, I think it's safe to say that, you know, depending on if you live in LA or New York or in a smaller city, $1,000 per month. So basically, like 12K a year is a budget that can help you, like start this business and have some visibility, at least from professionals on the brand side, but also it will help, enable you to reach out to mid-level and top tier creators.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think one thing I keep having to remind myself is, because right now I could say, man, I could probably operate with $0 and make a couple calls, right? But that's me 3 years into the space, right? So what's interesting about, when you saying that, I'm going, technically I don't really need any of that because of the relationships I made. But it shows like the type of investment I did in the beginning, right? We had HubSpot, we had everything, right? It was a lot more expensive than 1,000 a month. But you fast forward 3 years later, we have a CRM of over 20,000 contacts and relationships and stuff, where technically we could pull everything today. But we've spent who knows how much the last 3 years to develop this CRM with some really
Exactly.
high value relationships and contacts. And my phone alone is worth who knows what, right? From making calls. But it was like what you're saying was necessary.
It's the iPhone 10. It worth like $100. I know.
Okay, first one was 13, but the contact. So my
Okay,
my
okay.
iCloud cloud value, not the actual physical phone itself. Don't worry about the phone. But it's a metaphor. But yeah, so that was kind of part, like I would say to kind of think about. But the good thing is, someone who's sitting here going, wow, that's a lot. But you gotta realize TikTok videos, any Instagram, any platform, videos can go from $1,000 to $5,000 to $20,000, right? For a post and everything like that. So and obviously management has different fees, so you're not getting the full amount, but you can kind of see the type of game and field you're going into, right? So the investment you have to make to maintain in that type of game.
Also, you have to be serious about it. You know how much costs like a seat at WeWork? Like this co-working space? A seat is about like 600, 700, like just for you to sit. and share a table with strangers. So it's that expensive. So as a talent manager, you don't need necessarily to have like a co-working space, but you have to invest in the way you present your business, the way you present yourself to the world. It's again back to the intro. It's a reputation business, and reputation is related to relationship, but at first it's a reputation business. How do you build a strong reputation? It's how you behave, but also how you present yourself, right? And so you have to, like, as a brand, I have to understand that, or I have to feel confident that you actually have a relationship with the creator. This is not just a random name that you added to your spreadsheet or to your website. I need to feel confident. And so there's some tools on the market that can reassure brands about this relationship. I don't want to go into too much detail. I don't want to name again OnScale, but like there's this part. Then it's like, as a creator coming, like meeting with you, do you look professional? Do you look more professional than my cousin that already asked me to manage my, to manage my business? So then I need to be able to compare, right? And if you don't have yet a track record, it's not a big deal. At least you can have a deck that will, like highlight your strategy. So you need to have a strategy. So you see, it's all about the relationship, all about the reputation, all about how you present yourself. And when you don't have a track record, you have to invest in your infrastructure and how you present yourself.
Exactly. So with that, to kind of wrap it up too, and a last little nugget here before we wrap this up, because it's already getting an hour here,
Wow.
so hopefully this AI editing does its job. And with that in mind, a really quick hack, I would say, to grow your roster by 100, 200 in like a couple meetings. And it's a quick way, but you're going to have to really vet out your contacts, is you go to a bunch of talent
Mm.
management companies and go, hey, I want to get deals for you guys. And they go, or her, them, they, non-binary. And they say, okay, cool. Here's my roster. You take 3 rosters, you now have 30, 40, right? 50 creators at once. Now, this strategy only works if you already have existing brand clients or
Hmm.
you feel that you have a good strategy for sales. Because then all you can do is then put it together, someone. And sometimes that happens where you might have opportunity that comes to you. Hey, can you help me? I have X amount of money. And then maybe that's how you get into it. So some people might get into it that way. And they're like, hey, how do I keep doing this? So you might be someone with really good with brand connects. Maybe you were in the brand world and all your best friends you went to college with are now at that level in companies where they're, managing budgets. You might be able to get 10, 20K out of them if you position yourself properly. That is also one way. Now, keep in mind that way, the cons with that, these talent aren't signed to you. So you don't have your email in their bio getting the inbound. That manager does. So you can't touch that money. It's purely sales. 2, you have to make sure that manager is cool and close enough with that talent to where if you bring them a deal, they don't screw you over and just end up saying, oh, I don't know, they're not answering or this. So really make sure that that manager has a business and that their business email is in all those talent managers' inbox, right? Once again, you see how important it is to invest in that business email. That's an easy way to qualify, like, okay, these talent are in this management. Now, some talent don't do that because it might be a non-exclusive situation. But that's just something like if they have a non-exclusive situation with that creator, don't go to that manager. Just go directly to the talent, right, and establish that. So that's also a little mini hack to think about in terms of the type of resources you might have as an entry level talent manager.
I would add like a third point to what you say is, even if you trust this talent manager and you have access to their talent, then the issue is like, do they know how to run a campaign and deliver on time? Because since you're not in the mix, you don't have the relationship with your creator. You don't know if they will deliver, like the content on time or write the script on time and send the draft. You have to figure out a system to keep up with all the tasks and be, like involved. So it's really important. Again, the solutions for this might be like the topic of another episode, but just be careful if you choose to go that road.
Yeah, of course. So so these are some kind of general tips that we gave of just kind of wrap up of one, that first interview does matter. So if you have 2 interview processes, look at investing into your own company. Like I said, LLC, use LegalZoom and get it done. Or if you want, you can do it yourself if you have the time for research.
It's not a legal advice at all.
Oh yeah, no, that's not LegalZoom. Like they have to go to LegalZoom and then they have the disclosures on that site, and then you go from there, right? So let LegalZoom, the professional, show you. I'm just direct. That's like me recommending a law firm. It doesn't mean I'm a lawyer. I'm just recommending a law firm. Get 100 steamers, completely random. But then the other thing we kind of talked about at the end was understanding your expectations.
Invest in software.
Yep, expectations as a talent manager, how to find them through your For You page. We'll get more detailed about we talked about different verticals you might be interested in hopping into. Also, we didn't talk too much about like vetting out an account, right? Of like performance, engagement, things like that. You can find any website.
We need to do an episode like just
on data, because I feel like that's a whole nother situation. But first of all, just get them to respond, right? Is the number one thing you need to worry on. And we've signed talent that weren't the best in the beginning, but it helped grow our roster. And either one day they randomly, blew up, or some of them just kind of dwindled. But it helps also just showing that you have strength in numbers does still go a long way, as well. And then last thing, as my light turns off here, which means it's time to go, is really looking at what we just talked about is the potential hack of going to managers and letting them bring talent to you. But to do that, you have to really know the talent and their history, the talent manager and the history of that talent. And then 2, you have to have the brands ready to go. So these are some things to think about. And the last thing is the creator industry is young. So you're going to have more kids looking to get signed than you do, more older gen. But keep that in mind. But if you're like, hey, I'm passionate about millennials, I want to stick with millennials, there are still a lot of them out there to sign. But in terms of engagement rate and things like that, and average, you're going to see higher engagement naturally with younger creators because their audience is also on social media a lot more than a millennial or boomer audience space as well.
Perfect. Please leave your comments, like on LinkedIn. Let us know what you think about this episode. If you have more questions for us, just drop your questions. We'll definitely take the time to answer. If you want us to talk about different topics in the next episodes, feel free to let us know. We'll add some links in the bio, in the description. Come and meet us in LA in April. We're going to be at Coachella weekend 1. We're hosting a few dinners during the month of April. And again, thank you for watching. It was a done deal show. And let's do it, man. Let's get some money.
Yeah, of course. We'll work on the outro, and for those of you listening here on the podcast, also thank you for listening in as well. As it is the Done Deal Show with your co-host, Tanasi Chaponda, and the other co-host,
Sanjay Bakang.
Yes, sir. Talk soon. See you next week in the next episode.